Howdy, howdy, howdy. My name is Host Eric, host talking with fat people, and I just wasted a lot of time, sort of, not really wasted, but took a lot longer than I thought to move a bunch of single document files into a folder. But it did take a long time because I had to do a little bit of, like, gatekeeping, slash, also, Google Drive's not really well organized to move Google Docs around in. For some reason, it's one thing that Google doesn't do well. Anyway, I got this email. I'm off on tangents already, and I just got started. Hey Eric, can you share similar documents to the one attached? I'm looking for somebody to define the contrast cognitive function. The more the better. Appreciate it in advance. Fuck. This lady. She's cool. She occasionally emails me asking for something for good reasons, and I usually just ignore her. So, I like her. I think she's cool. I appreciate her interest, and I appreciate her voicing respect for the utility of my ideas the way she does. And so I decided to do that thing that she wanted me to do. And this is what it looks like. This is a folder, public doc depository. And you can see it's got all these various, can you see? Yeah, you can. All these various documents in here. Not all of them are functions. I also included some debate stuff in this folder. This Values A to Z, Philosopher Values book, you may have trouble even opening this document because it's so massive, but it basically contains evidence cards that are responsive to any possible kind of framework argument you might encounter in a Lincoln Douglas debate. So, I mean, it's got pro-autonomy, in favor of autonomy, opposed to autonomy, in favor of agency, opposed to agency, in favor of nationalism, opposed to nationalism. It's got everything. So, it's a really potentially useful document, but it's so massive that it's kind of cumbersome to open even. So the thing to remember about all of these documents here that you're seeing is, in general, as a rule of thumb, you're better, the closer to now, the more you can trust a document. If it's about cognitive functions. Because my knowledge of cognitive functions has improved over time in ways that, say, like this Orderly World of Grammar, I wrote in 2008, is still just as correct as it is today, as it was then. Nothing changed. It's static knowledge, right? This, I did write the one true holy Bible. It says hold here, but it should say holy. That's a typo. I've heard shit that it's basically everything I thought was maybe okay. So this here is a heuristics block. Use this when you're neg and somebody's running a bunch of heuristics on you instead of actual criteria. For intertype expressions of non-redundancy. I don't even know what that is from a long time ago. The Evelyn adjustment. Evelyn corrected me on something and I named a document the Evelyn adjustment. This is test on syllogisms and missions. You can use that for TI testing if you wanted to. Thing for that table I'm talking about, I don't know what this is. Syllogisms. It's going from Z to A, obviously. This is should you break up. This is around the time I broke up with Kimberly. This is actually a pretty good document I looked at. This is one of the reasons why this takes such a long time. What, of course, do I end my set list? If you want to learn how to play any of my songs that I play regularly, the chords and lyrics are in here. Science to science, cognitive functions. I put my Ryan cards in here about distinct states of motivation, extrinsic, intrinsic motivation, and their actual measurable impacts on people's likelihood to be implicitly or personally choosing something. Rules of inference and replacement. like, I had this big argument with Rain the other day because he didn't have a distinction between rules of inference and replacement. Well, here they are. You can access them here if you want. Roadmap full explication. This is a roadmap of a full explication. It's not an actual full explication, right? This is an interesting rights thing for shield law arguments, but just a debate thing I said would include rhetorical slope, episode 1, so it never came to be. Poem. This is my presidential platform. Compiling different questions. Like this one here is a document that was not written by me. This is actually an article that I thought was interesting enough to include. Not very many things in here are that, okay? That I include just because I thought it interesting enough to include. But that is one such thing. Almost everything in here is written by me or obviously not, like either a card or something. But occasionally there are a couple things that are not written by me. Such as one called Einstein. It's written by Einstein. It does a great job of explaining how, we have different kinds of theories. I'd throw this in. 2014, I made this card. No, well, I probably made it 2016. But look at this shit. They granted the poster child for why you don't get rid of nukes. Talk about being a curse surfer, right? Now, granted, this is a debate topic. It's debate that's curse surfing, not more than me. But people go, well, what do you think about the Ukraine situation, Eric? Oh, I'm sorry. I finished thinking about that 6 years ago. Nature function, morality, millennials, milk lab notes. If you want a real interesting thing to look at the milk lab shit. Although I don't know if I included it all or not. I think you're missing a couple of docs. This Kinsella A card thing is a bunch of rights cards. If you want to make a bunch of rights arguments, this is an action-packed, like 12 pages of just card after card after card after card. Here's my Jones cards on a race. If you want to win the argument that no, your ideas about race are stupid and made up, then you can read those cards. There's the lyrics to a song called Jonah's Got His Cabinet Stuffed Full of Frogs. The reason I'm still going through these things, there's some inky pinkies. INFJ universality and self-concept. This is anti-COVID policy stuff. Impact. I'm not sure what that is. If you're critiquing someone about something, I don't know really what that is. This is just some poem I wrote, or I don't know. Something dumb. Humanity is an expression of free energy. This is back when I first encountered that guy talking about the thing that I now call the prime directive, and don't use the terms free energy because it's meant in the physics sense and people don't understand it. This is how I operate it. Compassion for C.S. Joseph is basically hammering on him on how wrong he is about his own type until he breaks. I used to do a lot more kind of intellectually dishonest shit like that. This is a list of some of my silly business ideas. This is my novel I wrote called Gospel of the Pantheon. Some genealogy, DRP stuff. Functions and subject object agents, fundamentals of, I don't know, something. Function should test. Oh, Function Rummy. We should all get together and play Function Rummy. This is such a good idea. But it's complicated to explain. Anyway, whatever. Why am I even caring? This is what you need to read. If you want to read the most up to the moment thing that I've got, and the most thing that's not, I don't have to backtrack from anything in this. It's not very long, but what's there is correct. This frames, debate, function, bridge stuff is pretty important if you want to understand things in general, but it may not be what you're looking for if you're just looking for pure cognitive function stuff. 5 diseases afflicting YouTube comments. Am I pathologizing things I don't like? I am, aren't I? Favorite Bible verses. This is exactly what it says it is. Favorite Bible verses. Beyond all question, the mystery from which true godliness springs is great. There is a way that appears to be right, but in the end, it leads to death. We do not know what we ought to pray for, but the Spirit Himself intercedes through wordless groans. And if we know that He hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have what we have, what we asked of Him. This sentence is like, what? And if we know that He hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have what we asked of Him. Okay, you need to do a little bit of tense work there, John, to make clear what you mean. Now, faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Isn't that great? The assurance of things hoped for. Do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a worker who has no need to be ashamed, rightly handling the word of truth. Fuck yeah, right? That's great. Live as free people, but do not use your freedom as a cover up for evil. You get rid of that. Live as God. I don't like the I'm a slave to God metaphor very much, but God doesn't want to enslave me, you know. Anyway, I didn't mean. Why did I put fallacies, Cornell? Oh, that's right. There's a whole bunch of different fallacies with both the definition and an example of each of them. This is actually useful. I'm glad I put it in there. Somebody extroverted intuition. Now this document here is like this folder. So this document, Exciting Tables and Words, was the original this folder a long time ago. But a lot of things have been done since I made that. It's old. I wouldn't put too much faith in it. It's a compilation of random shit, basically. But emotionally fraught Eric teaches us. I bet he teaches us condescendingly. This, if there's one thing everybody needs to read more than anything else, is this thing Einstein wrote. It's like, this thing is just absolutely fucking gold. It's like, it explains so much that people just refuse to accept when I say it. But when I read them Einstein saying it, they have no problem believing me. We can distinguish various kinds of theories. Most of them are constructive. They attempt to build up a picture of the more complex phenomena out of the materials of a relatively simple formal scheme from which they start out, i.e. to build them out of the hypothesis. When we say that we have succeeded in understanding a group of natural processes, we invariably mean that a constructive theory has been found which covers the processes in question. Along with this, there exists a second, which I will call principle theories. These employ the analytic, not the synthetic method. The elements which form their basis and starting point are not hypothetically constructed but empirically discovered ones. Given characteristics of natural processes, principles that give rise to mathematically formulated criteria which the separate processes or the theoretical representations of them have to satisfy. Thus, the science of thermodynamics seeks by analytical means to deduce necessary conditions which separate events have to satisfy from the universally experienced fact that perpetual motion is impossible. The advantages of the constructive theory are completeness, adaptability, and clearness. Those of the principle theory are logical perfection and the security of the foundations. The theory of relativity belongs to the latter class, as does the metaframe, cognitive functions. The search for those most elementary laws is to be obtained through pure deduction. No logical path leads to these elementary laws. It is instead just the intuition that rests on an empathic understanding of experience. In this state of methodological uncertainty, one can think that arbitrarily many, in themselves equally justified systems of theoretical principles were possible. And this opinion is in principle certainly correct. But the development of physics and everything else that matters has shown that of all the conceivable theoretical constructions, a single one has, at any given time, proved itself unconditionally superior to all others. No one who has really gone deeply into the subject will deny that in practice, the world of perceptions determines the theoretical system unambiguously, even though no logical path, but instead intuition, leads from the perceptions to the basic principles of the theory. And it just make you want to cry? Because it's like, I didn't even know that, like, that somebody had already explained, but I kept trying to say to people, you know, like, no, I understand you can have empirics-based stuff. Anyway, but when I read it from Einstein, people go, oh shit, Eric's right. Or they go, oh shit, Einstein's right. And continue to just ignore what I'm saying or something. I don't know. It's fine. Einstein's be right, but try to apply that and make it useful to be more right about me too. Ideally, use some logic quizzes, DRPs, deductive reasoning problems, debate overview for students, debate foundational terms. If you want to use some massive truth tables, here you go. This is a fun document. TBT, I called it. This versus that. Things people care about. It's a good document. With a lot of bullet points, not a lot of meat on the scaffolding, but very stout, kind of bullet pointy document. INFJ actualization copy comparison table. Common sense for all 16 types. Cognitive function intro overview. Cognitive function units. If we're going to try to teach it as curriculum or something. Cognitive function 101 companion document. Claims I make substantiation not included. That's just random sentences basically. Cheerful words for joyful people. I don't know what that is. Building a simulation equals testing the dynamic system. Like, I wrote this before I ever found or read that Einstein thing. And I'm ham-fistedly trying to express what Einstein expresses much better. Because he's an actual physicist, right? I'm not really a scientist. I'm just the same kind of thinker that Einstein is, or any NTP is. Einstein was an INTP. That doesn't mean he was the smartest guy in history. I personally think Tesla was smarter and he was an INTJ. But what I will tell you is, it's so like, oh, thank God. Somebody is making sense. When I read that Einstein thing, it's so gratifyingly, okay. I'm not insane. I have not lost my mind completely. It's just there aren't very many of us who understand things as NTPs do, you know? This big organizational document is like 400 pages of curriculum and program architecture I did for my old job. Ways to type people. Baseball. Assholes Guide Redux. Aspects. This is old. Don't listen to anything I say about aspects, because that was a path that turned out to fall into a pool of magma, so I turned around and said, let's not go down that path after all. So I should probably get rid of it, but I'm not going to. Argumentational Mechanics for Strategic Debate. Master. Another copy of that. Argumentational Foundations. Argumentation Map. This looks... Oh, this is a specific thing. This is like flowing. This is a flow from a specific... Well, fuck it, I'll leave it there. The original Assholes Guide to 16 Types, which is one of my more popular videos. Agent, Subject, Object. This is explaining all the stupid fucking theism arguments. Just generally advanced argumentation for non-debaters, action, deliberation, knowledge interface, absolute instrument value. So you see there's a fair amount of documents here, right? Obviously there's shit tons of documents I didn't include because they aren't relevant at all to anything other than something like this one, you know, that I said, fuck it, I'm not going to remove it, but it's definitely not relevant to anything at all that you might be interested in. It's this one, and the reason it's not relevant to anything would make it worth putting in here is because if you look at it. Oh, actually, this isn't so bad. This is examples. I thought it was more specific than that. This is like, harms, app example, SQ, status quo backfires, AT to app. It's going to be some sort of process response. Neg example, Saudi prevents harms in Yemen. Your AT to neg is a motivation K. Saudi can't prevent harms in Yemen by trying to force Yemen to obey Saudi Arabia, the point of a gun, without sacrificing implicit motivations. Like this kind of stuff, Right, this is somewhat more specific, perhaps, than a purely. No, actually, it's pretty generalized. Actually, take that back. All right. So anyway, if you can't, I'll put the link here in the video here in the description or on your mom's face or someplace like that, and then after I do that, also it's here is the point. I put the link here. So if you can't find this video again, but you remember my blog, I rarely post anything on that blog anymore. So it's been like years, like over a year since I put anything until today. So it'll stay probably right there at the front thing for a long time. And so you could click it from the blog. If you can't find that video, you could maybe remember my blog name is Rice Ass Rest. If you just start typing in Rice Ass Rest, if you just Google Rice Ass Rest, I'm like the only Rice Ass Rest. So it's an anagram of my name. Eric anagrams to Rice, and Strauss beautifully anagrams to ass rust of all things. So it's pretty special, and as you can see in my blog, like everything else I do, is full of crazy nonsense. No, it's not. It looks neat. It's got a little picture for everything. It's just, well, it's just a blog, It's just a blog. That's what it is. Alright, this video, am I really publishing this horrible video? Well, yeah, since I did all that work, fuck yeah, I am. But, there. I hope you appreciate that. What's your name? DDX. Because that was such a fucking pain in the ass. You wouldn't believe it, how much of a pain. It sounds so straightforward. It was a huge pain in the ass. So please at least look at those things in that folder that I just talked about, everybody. Thanks for watching. I obviously need to go to bed or something. I'm a little punch drunk at this point. Good night, sweethearts. Read every word in every one of those documents right now.